News just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. CNN Center right now is just beginning to work on this story, obviously calling our sources and trying to figure out exactly what happened, but clearly something relatively devastating happening this morning there on the south end of the island of Manhattan. That is, once again, a picture of one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
And smash directly, perhaps purposefully, into, oh my goodness,
oh God,
there's another one. Oh my goodness, there's another one.
Seems to be on purpose.
Oh my goodness, now it's obvious, I think, that there's a second plane just crashed.
This is Julia, and I'm going to be interviewing her perspective on 9/11. You grow up?
I grew up about 20 minutes from New York City in Westchester County.
Were you born there?
Yes.
And you still live there today?
I'm 14 now.
How old were you when 9/11 occurred?
I was 4 turning 5 in about 2 weeks.
Do you remember the morning of the attack?
Yeah, I remember it actually really clearly. I was in kindergarten at the time. I was in my kindergarten classroom, and my teacher, I guess, got a call from the principal, because the principal got called, because they knew that my dad worked at the World Trade Center, and I was brought out of my kindergarten classroom, and one of my really good friends' moms picked me up and brought her back to her house for a few hours while my mom let everything sink in, I guess, because she couldn't really be around us yet.
What was your initial reaction?
Well, since I was so young, I was really confused, and they didn't really know exactly what happened yet, because there wasn't definite findings of everyone, and it could have been possible that he was still alive and stuff, and no one really knew at that time.
Did you immediately realize that his life was in danger?
Oh, definitely. I mean, at first, since I was only about 5 years old, I was really confused. I didn't really know what was going on, but my mom basically told me and my brother, who was 6 at the time, that he was definitely in danger.
When did you become conscious that it was a terrorist attack?
I didn't become conscious it was a terrorist attack for years after. I would say when I was 8 or 9, I finally realized what actually happened.
What was your initial reaction to the recent killings of Osama bin Laden?
I was extremely happy, and so was my whole family. And killing Osama bin Laden isn't going to bring anyone back, but it gives closure to the family, that every family that was affected and every person that was affected. It really brings closure to the whole situation.
Before he was killed, were you apprehensive that Al-Qaeda could potentially attack America again?
Definitely, and I think I still am, even more after he was killed.
Some people believe that 9/11 was a conspiracy and the attack traces back to our government. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't agree with it. I don't think it really had anything to do with it.
So obviously you're really brave to have endured such a tragedy at such a young age. How has it affected your childhood and your family? And what is the biggest challenge that you have faced since the attack took place?
I mean, it's definitely been a really big challenge, only because I lost my dad when I was 5 years old, and I grew up not even knowing what it was like to have one. And My mom did get remarried, and I now have a little sister. She's my half-sister because I have a stepdad. It's been so big and it's known all around the world. Like, so many people talk about it daily, weekly. Like, you just hear about it all the time. So it's still, like, reoccurring, and it will basically never end, and it'll never really ever go away or, like, leave anyone's hearts who it affected.
We're in heaven.
How often do you think back to that day?
I think back to it daily only because, especially recently since Osama bin Laden was killed, everyone talks about it, and it's just always, like, brought up in conversation. Whether it's, you know, just like a little thing or it's a big topic of conversation, but since it was a worldwide known event, like, it does come up a lot, and I do think back to the day basically.
Is that hard to cope with for you?
Yeah, it definitely is, because it wasn't just like, you know, he died of a heart attack, or he died, you know what I'm saying? It was a worldwide terrorist attack. Everyone knows that.
What is one word you would use to describe 9/11?
Sick.
9/11 was a significant event in my life, along with many other people in the world, because it was that devastating September morning that thousands were killed in a terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. 9/11 occurred when I was only 6 years old, but I remember it as if it were yesterday. I had a bad dream that night, so I ended up in my parents' room, and my mom woke up very early every morning and would turn on the news as she got ready. I remember her shaking my dad, saying, "Peter, Peter, wake up. There's been a terrorist attack on the Twin Towers." My dad sprung out of bed to call my 85-year-old great-grandmother, who lives in a penthouse apartment just blocks from the World Trade Center. Luckily, she was okay, but she was emotionally scarred for the rest of her life because she happened to be out on her terrace and watched the planes hit. At a young age, I didn't fully know what was happening, but I sat there and watched my favorite New York City buildings crumble to the ground on the TV screen. All I could think about were the people inside. Unfortunately, just 2 months ago, my great-grandmother passed away, but I know that watching 9/11 happen traumatized her up until the day she died. Because most of my family either lives or was born in New York City, including myself, we knew how much of a true New Yorker she was. It was hard to see her like that, let alone her home of Manhattan, so distraught. That's why I decided to do 9/11 as my Perspectives project. I saw 2 different views of my friend Julia and my great-grandma, whom both completely had different 9/11 experiences, but were both affected drastically through the event. I wish my great-grandma could be here today to talk about 9/11 with me. She would probably sit me on the terrace where so many of mine, my father's, and my grandmother's childhood memories took place and tell me all about it. Then my dad would probably insist on taking a picture of us, and I would say, "Let's take it in front of the Twin Towers," because those were my favorite. She would be stubborn and say that they were too ugly, so the Empire State always ended up behind us. It's funny how a terrace can have such an impact on multiple generations' lives. My great-grandmother taught me many life lessons and showed me what a true New Yorker is. Rest in peace, Grandma Goldman. I love you.